Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a fascinating and honestly deeply moving story that takes us straight to the heart of New York City. We're going to unpack the story of the Anderson family. You know, from the outside looking in, this household was just picture perfect. They had the massive success, the stunning home, that affluent, glamorous lifestyle. But as we pull back the curtain today, we're going to see a powerful exploration of human behavior. We'll be highlighting this huge, stark contrast between having material wealth and having actual, genuine character. It's a story of pure arrogance, unbelievable humility, and ultimately a really profound transformation. So I want you to just ponder this for a second. What truly makes a person wealthy, right? Is it just the balance in your bank account, maybe the size of your house, or how prestigious your job title is? Or is it something else entirely? Well, as we step inside the doors of the Anderson household, we're going to see this exact question put to the ultimate test. Because hidden inside the seemingly flawless home was some intense friction. We're talking two completely different sets of human values, two totally different ways of measuring worth, all living under the exact same roof. Let's set the stage and meet the folks at the center of all this. We've got John Anderson, who's a super successful businessman, and his wife, Emma. Together, they have an adorable 8-year-old son, Lucas. But there's a fourth absolutely vital person in this household, and that's Maria. Now, Maria had been working for the Andersons for years, but I want to be clear here. She wasn't just a maid who kept the house clean. She was literally the emotional caretaker of this family. Since John and Emma were always so busy, it was Maria who really looked after young Lucas. She poured her whole heart into this family. And Lucas? Well, he loved her deeply in return.
Now, what's really interesting about this dynamic is the stark contrast between the husband and wife when it came to how they viewed and treated Maria. It's like night and day. John is super grounded. He deeply respects Maria's honesty and her tireless hard work. But Emma, her entire worldview is dictated by status. She considers herself a woman of high class, of real wealth, and because of that, she just feels inherently superior. So instead of appreciating Maria, Emma constantly demeans her. She snaps at her over the tiniest things, literally telling her she can't do a single job right. It's the exact same loyal worker getting two completely opposite treatments.
Well, the delicate balance in this house completely shatters when John has to leave New York for a business meeting in Chicago. Before he heads out, he specifically asks Maria to take care of the house and Lucas while he's gone. And Maria, with her usual warmth, promises him not to worry. But the second John's moderating, respectful presence is out of the house, Emma's cruelty just peaks. She starts pushing Maria relentlessly. She piles on this utterly unreasonable amount of work and shockingly refuses to let Maria take even a single moment to just sit down and rest. As you might guess, the physical toll of all that relentless labor quickly catches up. Maria falls ill with a severe fever. And what's truly heartbreaking here is that despite burning up, Maria still shows up to work anyway. Why? Simply because she's terrified of Emma's anger. She knows for a fact that if she calls in sick, the backlash from Emma is going to be severe. This whole situation perfectly captures Maria's immense dedication, but also her incredibly vulnerable position in this wealthy household. She's literally working through sickness just to survive the wrath of her employer. And that brings us to a moment of absolute callousness. While trying to push through this terrible fever, Maria finally has to pause. She just sits down to drink a glass of water. Emma sees this, marches right over, and shouts, "I don't pay you to rest, work." Just think about that for a second. Think about the profound lack of empathy it takes to scream those words at a sick, exhausted woman whose eyes are welling up with tears. It's the ultimate display of arrogance, treating a human being like nothing more than a machine you bought with a paycheck. But right in the midst of this really dark moment, someone steps up. And it isn't an adult, it's 8-year-old Lucas. Seeing Maria crying and getting yelled at, he runs over, gives her the water himself, and then turns to his mother, defying her completely. He looks right at her and says, "Mom, if you do this to Maria, I won't talk to you." It's incredible, right? A child who hasn't yet been corrupted by these ridiculous notions of class and wealth intuitively recognizes the basic humanity and dignity that his own mother has completely forgotten. Let's see how this builds, because fate definitely intervenes when things reach a breaking point. John's business meeting in Chicago gets abruptly canceled. So without any warning at all, he catches an early flight and arrives back at the house exactly 2 days early. That's 2 full days before Emma ever expected him to walk back through that front door. John unlocks the front door, walks in, and the scene he walks into leaves him absolutely shocked.
He sees Maria, who is clearly terribly ill, trying to work, while Emma is just aggressively scolding her. John doesn't even hesitate. He immediately makes Maria sit down and calls a doctor. And once that immediate medical need is handled, he turns to Emma and asks a very pointed question. Is this why Maria always looks so exhausted? Emma is rendered completely speechless. She literally has no defense. And it's right at this moment that young Lucas steps in once again, telling his dad the whole heartbreaking truth about how his mom has been treating Maria while he was away.
Hearing all of this, John is just devastated. He apologizes deeply to Maria, telling her that she has given years to this family and they completely failed to give her basic respect in return. Maria, through her tears, tells him she's always considered them her family. And then John turns to Emma and delivers this profound realization. He says, "Wealth doesn't make a person great. Respecting others makes a person great." It's such a powerful dismantling of Emma's entire worldview, because the money, the massive house, the status, none of it equates to greatness if you strip away basic human decency. John's words finally break through Emma's wall of arrogance. The harsh reality of her own cruelty actually sets in. The very next day, Emma approaches Maria, and her demeanor is completely different. She apologizes, acknowledging just how incredibly wrong she was, and humbly asks for forgiveness. Now, Maria had every right to be bitter, but instead, she responds with such incredible grace. She tells her everyone makes mistakes. What matters is admitting it. It's this beautiful, really intimate moment of forgiveness that just highlights Maria's immense strength of character. And that apology? It wasn't just empty words. It was a total turning point for the family. Emma's behavior completely transforms from that day forward. The arrogance is just gone. She stops treating Maria like a maid and finally starts treating her as a true member of the family. All that toxic tension in the house dissolves, replaced by actual warmth and happiness. In fact, Lucas is the one who perfectly sums up this beautiful restoration. Looking at how his parents now treat the woman who practically helped raise him, he smiles and says that their family is finally truly complete. It's a moment where humility absolutely triumphs over arrogance. So what are the core lessons we can actually take away from the Anderson family? First off, respect is based on humanity, not your status or your money. A paycheck does not give anyone the right to strip someone of their dignity. Second, true greatness is found in how we treat others, especially those who might be in a vulnerable position or working in service to us. And finally, acknowledging mistakes leads to real growth. Emma's willingness to finally drop her ego, admit she was wrong, and apologize, that's what allowed this whole family to heal and move forward. Which brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. How do you treat the Marias in your own life? You know, the people who serve your coffee, who clean your office, who help care for your kids. Are you measuring their worth by their job title, or are you measuring your own greatness by the respect you show them? It's definitely a question worth asking ourselves every single day. Thanks so much for joining me to explore this story, and I really hope it leaves you reflecting on the true measure of wealth in your own life.